Hi, everyone. So let's see. Over 10 years ago, I joined the foundation. And at the time, I was attending like meetups and things like that, right? And at the time, the community was very much still in the early type of people, right? Like, so we had cypherpunks type of folks, tinfoil hats, very kind of fringe type of type of people. And then if you look at now, blockchain is actually a topic that is even covered as part of presidential elections for the US, right? Like we're basically got to a place where we're pretty mainstream in terms of awareness. That being said, and that's what this talk is about, this didn't translate quite yet into actual adoption. And reason for that is that the expectations with the users, right, is not necessarily met, and in particular on the trust side. And yeah, if you talk to both regulators and people that you meet, like one of the topics that often comes back is that there's a perception that maybe this industry has not been prioritizing trust as much as it should. So let's kind of dive in a little bit and try to understand why this is the case, right? In particular, like I wanted to first go over usability, which is an area of where, in terms of expectation, we've been making a lot of progress, actually. So like first I'll go over a few examples, and then you'll kind of start to see like, if there is a pattern, maybe. So that type of things I wanted to start with is around secret key management. So like not too long ago, the only real way you would be onboarded to a crypto wallet would be, at some point you have to remember to write down that secret seed. And then if you don't, which we've seen actually over and over in social media or news outlets, you see like somebody forgot to do that, lost it, and now they are locked out of their funds. The good news is that in terms of adoption or fixes, I guess, from the ecosystem, we've seen passkeys as being a way to mitigate this to a certain extent. So while from a security standpoint it's not perfect, it has plenty of trade-offs, it's still a way to get to the masses, right? Like it's very easy, like you just need a phone. And then when you look at the other side of this, which is the public keys, right? Like the counter to the secret keys. The choice there from an industry standpoint was kind of interesting. I mean, there are like, again, historical reasons for this with UTXOs in Bitcoin, where users and wallets are identified by pseudo-random, string of characters. And again, this is like giving both an illusion of privacy, while at the same time it feels kind of a little bit counterproductive, especially if you compare that to, let's say, email that is more than 40 years older than blockchain and started with names that are easy to remember and share with other people. And then again, here the type of solution where the industry is kind of catching up, to those problems is through the adoption of services like the ENS or account federation on Stellar. Then you have like payment in person. So there it was actually really bad in the early days, where you had to, like, imagine you were meeting somebody for the first time and you're trying to send them some money, right? You have to go through some convoluted dance, in a way, where you have to somehow get their public key into your wallet. And the way to do that was something in the lines of copy-pasting this key from some messaging app into your wallet, enter that secret seed that I was talking about earlier, to finally complete the transaction. And these days, the experience is actually a lot closer to what people expect again from traditional payment systems, where maybe you have to do like a little bit of a couple taps, but it's still fairly close. And then finally, so this is more of a problems that come with programmable money. So in that space, it's actually something that we were resisting for a long time at Stellar, with smart contracts, because there are like lots of issues that come in the wallet when it comes to giving the right information to end users so that they can sign a transaction. They need to agree to some transaction that's going to happen. If that information is just a straight payment, it's fairly straightforward. In the wallet, you just see something like send X dollars to this person, yes, no, right? Like approve or not. With smart contracts, you end up with something a lot more open-ended because contracts can do anything. And then the choice there in the wallet is to either provide too little information or too much information. And in both cases, you probably will end up with bad things happening. And the type of things that have been done in this space started with limiting the amount of risk that you're exposing users with like concepts like allowances in ERC20, for example, that the industry has been kind of adopting very broadly. And then more recently, with innovations that we've done, for example, in Soroban, where in a combination of simulation and authentication framework that actually list out the list of privileged actions that a contract is going to take, allows to actually give this right level of detail to the users. So all I'm saying here is that those are all hard problems, and we're getting there in terms of solving them. But when it comes to trust, there's a bit of a different story. This bad reputation I was talking about is actually quite deserved. And there are a few reasons for that. Like, people in attendance are really, like the type of presentations, we just saw, today and yesterday. You see that, our community is kind of very much aligned into solving those, real-world problems and getting like this high impact, to different communities in the world. But that's not always the case. You have communities where their priorities are not aligned with this at all, right? Like they're just trying to make a quick buck somehow. And the first example I wanted to use here is around black hat hackers type of people, right? They're going to try to find an exploit in a contract or in your Web2 infrastructure and maybe pull some sort of ransomware attack, right? You have sometimes incentive misalignments where different participants to the network are actually on a collision course. The example I use here is around you're trying to do a cross-border payment, and now maybe you're going to be front-run by some trader that's going to make money off this information that you're giving them. And then finally, because we're working on making things so much easier for entrepreneurs to do things on the network, you end up with things like assets now are becoming so easy to issue that, well, now maybe a bad actor can issue fake assets and use that as part of a scam campaign. And those type of actors are actually, in a way, waking up a different set of participants, right, which are around rules and regulations. And in that space, what we're looking at is really those type of things evolving over a long period of time in the context of traditional finance. And now, because of the activity of those bad actors, are being forced to evolve and play catch up. And the question here is that how do we want to participate in this evolution, right? And I believe that as any business, right, like you can either decide to let somebody else be part of those conversations. And in this case, it's likely that the decisions are not going to be well aligned with your own business, potentially even making it non-viable, even illegal. And in any case, I think that you know your business the best. You know the type of trade-off that can be made. So it makes total sense that you should be part of the conversation. And when I say you, it's like anybody, really. Like it's not like limited to asset issuers, for example. And in I say this as if you were thinking, well, should I go talk to regulators? The answer is no, not necessarily. Like, I think that self-policing is actually a big part of the solution here, because we get to both, as a product, like focusing on the user experience, making sure that you're prioritizing safety and security of your end users is actually solving a real problem that people have right now. You don't need to wait for regulations to catch up to you. And at the same time, when finally we're in a situation where we're trying to write those rules, we have existing information, right, that will inform those regulators on which path to take or not take, because there are always trade-offs. And the thing I wanted to highlight here that is important too is that we've seen recently some activity related to, towards like the regulation enforcement, basically, and then usually you end up with like terrible trade-offs for both the users and potentially with open source contributors, which is not what we want to happen. So I'm saying all this, it's really about adoption, and we're all running businesses, here, right? And you really want that to be more than, I put 1% here because I'm more of a pessimistic, type of person, but like, I believe that we don't want to be stuck in the most popular niche market of all. I think that we can actually have the impact that we're looking for. It's just a matter of like figuring out how to move beyond those hurdles on the trust side. And how we're going to do this is actually through collaboration. Earlier, I was giving those examples around usability because they're actually it's very clear there was not like a grand vision on how to make this whole system user-friendly. It's really pockets of innovation that together are actually trying to solve this usability problem. And I believe that we can do the same thing with trust. And then, because like even with those simple usability improvements, we see that already we have high impact scenarios, right? Like we have crypto getting in the hands of maybe like refugees and displaced people and makes a difference today. I believe that we can get to that next level of adoption by gaining people's trust. And how we're going to do that? So like I was saying, like collaboration, but it's not like a single entity or person that's going to solve that. It's really like I was saying, like something that we all need to work towards. And the good news here is that I think that there is a way to get there because we have actually a fairly good value alignment in terms of community, as in we're all working towards more or less this everyday financial services that is really dear to the SDF. And I think of this more like voting in a way. Like you have, individual votes seem insignificant in a way, but when you have enough of them, you can drive change towards this, higher impact, better future. So the thing I want you to ask is, the next time you're in a product meeting, the next time you meet with your team, start by asking this question. how can you make the safety and trust of your users better? And I think that you can even start to open up to even go further than your users. Maybe you can think about the greater ecosystem, but that's really optional. And I believe that as you do that, you're going to find gaps. And then some of them, you'll be able to fill them yourself. In other cases, you're going to have to find some help from other ecosystem participants. And one way you can help those ecosystem participants is by using their products, actually. And that's how we get, make ourselves better. And then the other thing is you need to speak up. So this is basically demanding trust from everyone. And this is how we're going to establish this level of accountability that we need, because without it, right, things kind of break down. And the type of things I'm thinking about here is basically around just talking with people. It could be in Discord, but also like any kind of business meeting you have, trust should be part of the conversation. And on the accountability front, I think a lot of the type of things we can do is start to establish standards and actually enforcing them in some capacity. And I wanted to now cover a little bit of what SDF has been doing that's kind of lining up with this stuff, right? And there are like three big buckets where we get to have some impact. First, on the tech front, for example, layer 1. Earlier today, I was talking about how for that second problem I was talking about earlier around conflict of use cases around traders and people trying to do cross-border payments. Well, actually, I think we do have solutions that are kind of making it better for both parties. And you don't have to actually compromise too much on basically saying, well, traders are bad, or I want to allow high fees for my users. And then on the pilots, later today, you'll have the occasion to hear, I think it's around noon, from some pilots we've been doing on fraud prevention. And this is integration of certain products in wallets for auditing, basically, transactions before you get hit. And then finally, grants is one of the things that the foundation can do. And here we have been doing things both on the security front. So we had a fairly successful campaign in getting contracts audited, security audits, before they are actually used in the public network. And then we have also been onboarding or helping onboard analytics companies so that those bad actors have basically no place to hide. So as you leave Meridian, I want you to live with the mindset that you're in the driving seat when it comes to this adoption of trust, and that you'll be you get to connect it to solve those things either with other people or as a thought leader, basically, where you get to trailblaze, right? And that way, together, we'll be able to deliver on this vision of everyday financial services for the entire world. Thank you.